Hello everyone and welcome back to another Indie Platinum. So today we'll be talking about Despelote. So this is a game that I played all the way back in May, and genuinely I've been thinking about it almost every single day. The game just had such a big impact on me, and I've just been thinking about how good the game was itself and how great it recreated this moment in time. And then also on the other side, on the development side, like how much I wish we could get this for other places. So today I'm going to talk to you about the game and why I love it and why you should play it. This is a narrative based game, so I won't be talking about any spoilers except one moment near the end, but I will timestamp that so you can skip it if you want, and it's technically not a plot spoiler. And of course I will be talking about the Platinum, which is incredibly easy and it's also a bit weird, so that will be interesting to talk about. So Despelote is a slice of life narrative game set in Ecuador on the build up to the 2002 World Cup. The game takes place over multiple months, and you basically just play as this child, Julian, while the World Cup qualifying games are on. So a lot of the game is basically, you get told to wait for something. So for example, there's one bit where your mum goes away and she says, I'll be back at this time, and you just have to kill time. And you can kind of do anything you want. The timer's going in the background, but you can just choose to... I think that's what's great about the game. There technically is like nothing to do. You just kind of walk about, listen to conversations, talk to people, and most importantly, play football. The world in this game just feels so lived in. Like I said, technically you don't actually do anything, but there is so much to do if you want to. 99% of the dialogue in the game is in Spanish, and with the subtitles popping up all around the screen, I think as a non-Spanish speaker, what this does is it kind of forces you to focus when you want to listen, but you can also kind of just tune it out and just be a kid and just play football. Like, there's a lot of conversations, you can talk to other kids and they'll just say stuff like, pass the ball and stuff like that, but you can pass by like news broadcasts and political stuff and like parents arguing, and it's one of those things where, you know, like as a kid you're not meant to be listening to this stuff. So, and I feel like because there's a lot of dialogue in the game, it is kind of this thing where you're meant to kind of pick and choose what you want to listen to, and there's a lot in here that like you genuinely learn actual facts and like things that happened at the time. It's just such a fascinating game. So yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about this game without spoiling stuff, but because I feel like that what I've explained so far is the game. You just kind of like chill out. The game's about 2 hours long, and you just kind of like pick up little bits. There is an actual story that like concerning the main character, but I think the best part of the game is all the other stuff going on. And like, I didn't know much about Ecuador before playing this. You know, like also I've heard of it, and I kind of know like the general stereotypes, but I couldn't tell you any facts, and like I genuinely learned actual things from the game, without it being like an edutainment game, you know, like I just learned things from like osmosis. Now I quickly want to talk about the art style, because I think this might be the best looking game of the year, and obviously, you know, like it's not the most graphically best game of the year, but the art direction is just so good, and it's like that the kind of thing I was saying about how you're not really meant to do anything, you're just meant to like chill out. The art style here just gives everything like a hazy kind of feel, and it's like, you know, it's like you're looking into the past, and it's like because of the way it looks, it's like the game almost feels like a memory, which is like, you know, that is what the game is. It's meant to be this like callback to this specific point in time. Also, just so you're aware, the art style did mean that the bitrate went like crazy high on my recording software, so some of this video will actually be in a lower quality than the game actually is. So, you know, I just feel like I should point that out. Something I find just so fun is that the game has licensed real life football footage, so when the games are on you can just go watch them, and they're presented in this like stylized version of the actual games. I just think that is like such a great detail, and I'm just like, it's just cool. There's also like news footage that appears that's in the same thing, where they've got the actual news footage and then put the game's filter over it. It just makes it, I don't know, the game is just so cohesive, and I don't think I've seen anything like it, genuinely. So this game has one of the best moments of the year in it, and that is a spoiler. So I'll start talking about it now, and I'll put a time on screen you can skip to if you want to skip this. Because if you're into this in the game, it's worth playing to see this moment for yourself. So about halfway through the game, the story started to feel a bit too specific. I feel like I can't even like put into words, but I was just kind of like, there's like this thing with the mum and dad and what their job is, and I was like, this feels almost like a real life, you know, it's like a real life story, like a biopic. And then it clicked that the hooligan in the game is the hooligan in the credits, like the game director. And there's a bit near the end of the game where he basically like it's kind of, I feel like it's not even like a plot twist kind of thing, but it's just like they revealed that yes, this is a real life story that happened to him. And then there's this fascinating section where the game becomes like a behind the scenes documentary on the game itself, like while you're still playing it, because they talk about how all the environments in the game are scanned, and then it takes off the filter, and you get to walk about the park that the game is set in, and there's also like a real place. And then the game director kind of just talks to you as the player about like what it was like going to Ecuador to film it, like to get the scans. And there was a bit that was like, because they had these expensive cameras, it was like dangerous to like walk about and they had to be quick. And I just think that it's just the whole idea of like, I don't know, I just find it so, it's like I genuinely don't think I've ever seen a game like this where it's like, obviously this is like an art game, you know, like you're not gonna, even though it's about football, you wouldn't recommend this to like the average football fan. You know, you're only gonna like it if you are going to like it. It was like that section, I just thought, it was like, I don't know, maybe just as a fan of like game dev and game design, I just find it so fascinating to have the actual developer talk about what making the game was like. But, you know, like, the idea of making the game and what Ecuador is like and how it's changed in the past 20 years is like part of the game, if that makes sense, you know, like, the actual making of it is what the game is about. I just think that's generally such a, like, I was like floored by that moment. And I won't spoil the ending, but I think the ending is like fantastic. So quickly, I just wanted to touch on the platinum because it is kind of weird. So the whole game is this narrative thing, and usually you'd expect there to be like trophies for choices or something like that, but there's not even one for finishing the game. I think it's basically just the idea, similar to like Wonder Stop, where they kind of didn't want to do trophies. So there's this little like top-down football minigame, and all the trophies are in there, and you can get the platinum in about 45 minutes if you want to. So this is just my little call out that like, this is an amazing game for the art of it, and I hope this wins awards at the end of the year. I genuinely think it's like amazing. But if you do want an easy platinum, then if this gets cheap, then, you know, 45 minutes, and hopefully you'll finish off the game after that and experience the whole thing. So you've seen the title. It made me nostalgic for a place I've never been to, that being Ecuador, but it also made me jealous. And what I mean by that is that the story that takes place in this game and just kind of the premise could happen in many places. You know, like, obviously the details of Ecuador are like present in this game, obviously that's what the game's about, but you could make the similar style of game, like a slice of life, about this like specific football moment, about any country. And I just kind of, what kind of inspired me about this is it was like what I said before about how I don't know much about Ecuador, and I obviously I don't know a lot now, but I definitely know more, and I have like, when I think of Ecuador in the future, I'll think of this game and like the things that like taught me. And I was like, I wish we could get a game like this for every country. And specifically what I was thinking about, this is a kind of non sequitur, but when this game first came out, I listened to the review, and this is kind of paraphrased, and it doesn't sound as bad as what it actually was, but it was an American talking about the game, who you could tell they didn't watch much football, and they were basically saying that qualifying for the World Cup is easy for big countries and it's harder for smaller, poorer countries. And I was thinking about that, like, so this game is about a small footballing nation, and that the viewer said it's like because they're like smaller and they don't have the money. And I think I guess the point is that USA have like an easier time qualifying. I don't actually know if that's true, to be fair. But I was like, so this game is set in the run-up to the 2002 World Cup. And the last time Scotland qualified for a World Cup was in '98, the one before this. So that kind of got me thinking. I was like, you could tell this story about Scotland, and obviously Scotland's like a big footballing nation. You know, they're small in size but big in heart. You could tell this exact kind of thing in Scotland, and also in other places. But I just feel like, you know, it has to be these like specific countries, and it just made me think. I was like, I just wish we got like a Scottish game. Because there is like a development scene here, but obviously they're making like GTA and other stuff. And then even when we do get a Scottish game, like It Still Waits to Deep, it's made by a studio in England. And it's like, I just wish we got like a Scottish game made by Scottish people. Just like this, because it's like, you know, and I feel like I don't really know where I'm going with that point, but that's just what this game made me feel. I was so inspired by the developers' love for where they come from, and I just feel like I would love, like, that's on the first hand, I would love if like everyone from every country made a game like this, and more specifically, someone from Scotland, Yeah, so in that vein, I just wanted to leave you with this idea that when this video goes live at 7:45 UK time, Scotland will be kicking off against Denmark in the World Cup qualifiers. So just like in Despelote, where you play through the last four qualifying games for the 2002 World Cup, from September to November this year, Scotland will be playing their 6 qualifying games for the 2026 World Cup. So you know, we're in the same moment in time that the game was set in. So in 20 years time, if there's any game devs that want to make a game about what it was like to live in Scotland in this moment, because hopefully we'll qualify for the first World Cup in, well, like 28 years. First World Cup of my lifetime. I mean, there's a free game idea for the 2045 Game Awards. And to go back to the game and talk about Ecuador for a second instead of talking about Scotland, I should point out that their last game is next week, and they have already qualified for the World Cup this year. So congrats to them, and because of this game, I now have a little soft spot for the country, and whenever they play, I'll be thinking about Despelote and the developers of this game and how excited the whole country will be. But yeah, so if you've liked the sound of this game, then please check it out, because it's done well, like the view wise, but I don't think it's sold very well, and it genuinely deserves to be like one of the most played games of the year. And I'm praying in my heart of hearts that it gets a Games for Impact nomination at the Game Awards, because it would just mean so much. So yeah, I know this video was a little bit different, but next week I'll have a full platinum video, like a normal one with a game that actually has a proper platinum. So stay tuned for that and have a good one.